if you enjoy this video and the other content here, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you want to be a part of our community, we have a Discord server, which will be linked below in the description. But without further ado, sit back, take a deep breath, and relax. And I hope you enjoy the video. Hello, and welcome back to another video of me going through some of the writings and writing practices that I have been doing over the year I have spent at uni doing my wonderful writing course. So in this one, I'm going to see how long this one is, and if it's a little short, I'll throw some smaller writings on the end, but if it's long enough, then this will contain most of the video here with this one piece. So this is what I handed in for one of my fiction assignments. So this was a 1,500 word short story that I had to write, and I also had to do a reflective essay in the end, but I won't be reading you that bit because that's a bit boring. I don't think you want to hear me judging myself in an essay, as you probably do, but I mean, either way, you're not hearing it. With this, I'm trying to talk through how I kind of got to where I did with this story. So I based it off the beginning of Bad Omens. So if you haven't heard me read the Bad Omens piece that I did, go to the video before this. I believe it's called More Cozy Rainfall Readings, if I remember correctly. So go back there if you want to kind of hear what I have based this first bit on. So I took the same basis of someone waking up into a reality, and all the description of all their senses kind of slowly returning to them. And in this case, it's a woman waking up from cryo sleep. And I won't go too much into the story because I'm kind of hoping that through actually hearing the story you'll kind of understand the context, but the basics is this woman's just woken up from cryo sleep. And this one was, I tend to struggle with short form stuff, so doing a short story like this is kind of difficult for me, and it does lend itself to a series again, but I have a proclivity for writing series, as I've mentioned before. I really can't help myself. Oh yes, and also, sorry, the big point, the huge point, I cannot believe I just forgot this. The huge point is that it is based off the video on my channel, Welcome to the End of the World. And in fact, this piece also shares the same name with that video, because this piece is also called Welcome to the End of the World. So, without further ado, I think that's all, so we'll get straight into it. Okay? Here you go. Welcome to the end of the world. Your spirit awakes as your consciousness is suddenly jolted into reality. The familiar stench of filtered air, sterilized, unnaturally clean. Your lungs draw in their first breath in untold years. Its unusual warmth burns you. You cough. A stuttered exhale from your unpracticed lungs tries to establish a rhythm. You feel the air rushing onto your skin. It stings and prods the nerves of your skin. It's overwhelming. A second of excruciating adjustment, then balance. The air still whips your skin, but the avalanche of its stimuli has subsided. Clothes are clinging to you, providing meager protection from the inquisitive rush of the air. You feel each follicle being acted upon by the sweeping wind, your scalp alive with writhing sensation. Whirring machine parts and distant alarms wail into your ears. It hurts. You can hear a muffled voice in the distance, but your reigniting cognition cannot yet decipher the words. The clatter of metal falls into the forming soundscape, crashes and clanging. The noise overwhelms you. It hurts your ears. Then comes a rapid beeping, a rhythmic tapping against your skull, your sparking psyche finally making out a word. Denied, 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 endlessly tapping away. The sterilized air assaults your tongue with its foul taste, your freshly awoken body instinctively tightening its jaw and retracting your tongue. It's so foul and so familiar. Your eyelids labor and pull themselves open. The beginnings of a blurry scene takes form ahead, swirling patterns, bright colors slowly shaping, slotting into a canvas of carnage. Your eyes fight to bring the scene into focus, rapidly adjusting retina, cornea pummeled with light. The pod you lay in has opened up. The room ahead is in ruins. Cables slump from panels and walls. Lights flicker as the lifeblood of the facility runs dry. Equipment lays scattered and dust takes comfortable refuge on most of the surfaces. Finally, your blossoming psyche firmly shackles itself to reality and anchors you in the moment securely. The facility around you is in ruins, and the cryopod is flashing innumerable warning lights in your face. A strangely clothed man stands before you. Goggles and a mask cover his features, but you see deep hazel eyes staring back at you, wide with shock. The strangely dressed man stands in place, his hands hovering over a glass screen, littered with flashing warnings and scattered error messages. Stiffened muscles quickly burst into action once he sees the person in the perplexing icebox begin to move. "Holy shit, you're alive?" the man says, shooting towards the pod. The freshly awoken stranger did not speak, only rapidly darting eyes and struggled sluggish movements. He glanced back at the control panel he was toying with a second ago, before turning back to the startled stranger. "Right, I guess those words were all about you." He began fiddling with straps and bars, freeing the stranger from confinement. Bursting forth from their pod, the stranger's body seemed to have finally begun to function. They desperately gasp for air, cling to anything nearby, thrashing and writhing. "Hey, slow down. The screen said not to stand up for a couple minutes." Still no words came from their mouth in response, the two simply sharing long, intense stares of bewilderment. Fumbling through an assortment of items attached through various hooks, strings, and clips, he presents a flask in an outstretched hand. Do you want some water? You must be thirsty, right?" A weak grip obliges the offer and slowly struggles to remove the top, before taking a long, labored sip. "So, do you have a name?" The man stands awkwardly, his gaze running up and down the foreign machinery. Finishing their lengthy draw from the flask, the stranger looks at him, having clearly become more coherent. "Dr. Saramina Carson. Who are you?" "Huh, funny name." He reaches behind his head, and with a resounding click, he moves his mask, then pulls his goggles down, letting them slump around his neck. "My name is Atlas. I'm glad you're actually alive. I thought I stumbled across some kind of sick coffin." Dr. Carson raises an eyebrow. "A coffin? And it's just Atlas?" says the weirdo with two names. His tone is playful, but the sentence itself concerns Saramina. She shoots upright, her eyes filled with concern. "Who won the war?" Atlas furrows his brows in thought for a moment, before they rise with realization. You mean between the Earthbreakers and the Forsaken? No, World War III. Huh? I've never heard of it. Saramina's face drops just as fast as the pieces of this puzzling situation do. How long have I been asleep? What does the screen say? It should say 50 years. Walking back to the screen, Atlas scans the sheer flood of information, searching for the answer. His eyes dart from edge to edge before finally standing still, then widening. What? How long have I been asleep? The doctor shakes as she throws her legs out of the pod before mustering the will to attempt standing independently. Now, I don't want you to panic, but, you've been in this, cold thing for 135 years. No word could ride their way from her lips in response, just a long, singular breath, followed by her knees collapsing underneath the weight of realization. Barely managing to catch her, Atlas guides the doctor back to the pod, her shaking arms clinging to the stranger as her breathing raced in tandem with her mind. This is all wrong. It was meant to be 50. Wait for the dust to settle. Rebuild the world. Grabbing the doctor's shoulders, Atlas speaks clearly but compassionately. Look at me. Breathe. Just breathe. Saramina looks up at him, her muttering slowly coming to a stop. Just calm down and tell me what happened. Are there others here? Should I go free them? Finally reeling, her breathing back under control, she slumps down onto the floor, Atlas crouching down to meet her eyes. There's no need. The facility would have cut off their power to keep me alive because I'm the head of Project Savior. They were sacrificed to keep me alive. She buries her face in her hands. Atlas pauses for a moment before speaking, his face expressing the sheer amount of information he is processing. Project Savior? I've heard that somewhere before. Wait, you guys were the ones planning to bring back the trees, right? The doctor nods, her eyes still fixed in the middle distance before she suddenly snaps back towards Atlas. Planning? They aren't everywhere now? The germination tower should have worked even without anyone waking up. I need to go outside. I need to see. Her returning strength just managing to raise her to her feet. Whoa, Atlas says as he leaps forward and slings Saramina's arm over his shoulder. He kicks the door button. It grunts in response as its servos oblige, the two slowly moving towards the control room and exit. Atlas turns his head towards the doctor, his tone solemn. The world isn't what it used to be. You'll need one of these masks just to breathe properly. Saramina glances at the mask clipped to his belt, before noticing another one next to it. The adjustments on the straps drastically different from Atlas's. What happened to your friend? She asks, sitting herself down at the main console, offering a single, compassionate glance. Atlas pauses his task of scavenging a dead console for parts, meeting Saramina's glance with his own, his stare ablaze with emotion, screaming 1,000 words into the silence between them. Atlas spoke in a low, quiet voice. Not friend. Sister. The Forsaken, they took her. And I couldn't do anything, he says as he yanks a cable from its socket. They took her? As a prisoner? As food. Christ. Stuffing a collection of components into his bag, Atlas's posture stiffened, a deep exhale escaping his lips. So, these germination towers. I think there's one about a week's trek from here, he says, walking over to the bunker's entrance controls. Confirming this on her own screen, Saramina pushed up from her chair, vigor having finally settled in her body once more. She stands at the entrance with Atlas, her breath shaking. Atlas hands over the second mask, his eyes still on the controls. Looking over at him, Saramina's voice was soft and solemn. Are you sure? Of course. She'd want you to have it. He pauses as the doors began their opening sequence. She always dreamed of seeing trees. Can you fix the towers? I'll fix them one by one if I have to. Whatever it takes, Saramina responds, before adorning her mask along with Atlas. Then, let's get to it. Saramina stares as the doors finally began to open. The world she once knew had been swept away like dust in the air, replaced by the ashen wastes of a destroyed landscape. The buildings she'd once walked past every day are reduced to concrete carcasses. The lush emeralds of distant hills meet her with only hues of despairing grey. A stench of burnt wilderness and steel assaults her nostrils as a foul warmth rushes to greet her skin. Everything she knew was gone, replaced by the corpse of her beloved planet. An audible gasp escapes her lips. Atlas turns to her, extending a hand out. He says, "Welcome to the end of the world." And there you have it. That is my 1500 short story. I hope you liked it. And I think it hasn't quite been long enough yet, so I'll read a little something after this. In fact, I'll probably read the alternative that I had, an alternative idea for this short story that I fiddled with before finally setting on Welcome to the End of the World. But do tell me what you think, okay? Down below. Tell me how you liked my actual assignment piece that I actually handed in. What grade would you have given me? Tell me. Out of 100. Actually, please don't tell me. The terribly low scores would probably crush my self-esteem. Yeah. So, an alternative idea I had, which is something I played with my hand in before this, was this story called Sixth Sense, and it's about like basically the diary of a serial killer kind of thing, and I took it from I think it was a Reddit post. I think is what actually inspired me, but it was a Reddit post saying they say people have a sixth sense for when they're being watched, but you don't seem to have it at all, or something like that. And I kind of took the concept as people have a sixth sense for when they're being watched, and then it would be kind of like journaling, and this killer journaling how they've murdered these people, and then it ends because one of the things we had to do was introduce different perspectives. So that's why in the piece I just read, Welcome to the End of the World, it starts off in the second person perspective. So you and so your body awakens, and your sparking cognition, and blah blah blah, and then switches out into the third person, which is what I'm most comfortable with and what I normally write in. So this one would have been like talking about all these things, and then it would have switch to the second person at the end, saying like, you did this, you gone, and you were always suspicious of me, and blah blah blah, and basically detailing the reader and saying that they have followed this killer, and now that they are sat here reading his journal. You know, people say they have a sixth sense, but even now, you know, you still don't notice I'm watching you. So, you know, it would have been a kind of nice creepy little thing for the reader to have. But anyway, I'll read it out now. It's very, very short, because I got to here and then I had the idea for Welcome to the End of the World, so. Sixth sense. They say people have a sixth sense for when they're being watched. They say some primal sense awakens, streaming deep-seated fear into a person's heart, that it animates the ever-dormant hairs of the neck to stiffen with terror. They say it's the drumming of uneasiness that the beating of the heart follows, racing together away from predatory gaze, running from the shadow in the corners of perception, calling incognizant legs to do the same. They say, as the thread draws nearer, breath will shallow, laying low because the body will not. They say that the feeling invades the soul, screaming to be heard, pleading that its warnings are heeded. They say those aware enough heed it, heads spinning around with paranoid efficiency. They say others don't mind, and what lurks in the dark corners finally strikes. I say there's a third outcome, those that heed the warning but whose fate is already sealed. Sarah was like that. I liked Sarah. She had fire. Her instincts were strong. Shame her body failed her in the end. She made for such an invigorating chase. So that's the Sixth Sense piece and that little kind of opening intro. Again, let me know what you think. Would you have rather seen me complete that and turn it into a 1,500 word short story? Or do you think it was a good idea that I stuck with Welcome to the End of the World? But I think that will wrap things up for now with these. I have probably one more video of this, of my ramblings and writings. So I hope you've been enjoying these and just kind of seeing what I've been doing whilst I've been away. You know, I haven't been doing, absolutely nothing. I have been working and creating and improving my skills as a writer to hopefully improve my writings here on the channel. So I really hope it's been paying off, and I really hope you see that I have been hard at work over here on the front. But without further ado, I do hope you have a wonderful day or night, whatever time of day it is for you, and that you sleep well or rest well, that your day is without stress and fear and anxiety, and that you can finish your day feeling fulfilled and safe and happy and content. And I will see you in the next video. Hey there, thank you for watching this video, but just before it ends, I'd like to take this chance to thank all my disciples of Jesus Christ, patrons. If you'd also like to support me, you can check the links below. But until the next time, take care of yourself, have a good day or night, and I'll see you in the next video.